Good morning. Welcome to ChartRoom, episode 260. I'm sure we've done over 300 episodes. Welcome. Today we're going to be going over my report on the VSA analysis for Bitcoin, USDT.D, where I stand on a few issues regarding Bitcoin and what my major predictions are for the next coming months, believing the major market directions, showing the battle back and forth. USDT.D is a map that I primarily use to determine the major movement for Bitcoin, as side by side, preemptively, if we understand what happens with this map, we understand a lot of the major movement that's about to happen with Bitcoin. Now, when I first began using USDT.D a few years ago, I was able to put it side by side, and it seemed as if comparatively, all the movements for USDT.D were, for Bitcoin were predicted by the major movements on this chart. There's a very unique relationship between the Tether dollar and Bitcoin. And I believe it's primarily because the price of Bitcoin is being inflated by the artificial pumping and creation of Tether dollars. So as Tether is created or as Tether's moved in and out, I believe it has a direct proportion to Bitcoin. Now, I could be wrong, but whatever the case is, why the origin exists, we do see a very strong dynamic relationship between Tether and Bitcoin. We remember from the reserves that we hear, from the reports that we've seen about the woman who works with Tether. She says, we don't have any reserves and we're not federal. The wife of the person, she's a very arcane artist. She's an artist who paints or makes pictures, photographs that are very eerie, creepy. The people who run the world, the Illuminati type of people, right? They're always the people who love to tout all of their beliefs. They put it in their logos, they put it in their action, they put it in plain sight. Rappers and singers whom you guys are seeing, they talk about it very openly, but they talk about it in a code so that you're not catching what they're really meaning, what they're really saying. We laugh about it, we laugh these things off, but it's really very evil in nature. In many cases, it's demonic, and they almost laugh about it. So if we can understand the clues, then we know where to look. And if we know where to look, then we can interpret. And if we can interpret, then we can see and observe and then put together a story. And that story helps us understand the way of the world and what may be coming next. What we've observed is that the Tether dominance chart is a chart that tells us basically how dominant Tether is. If we didn't understand the symbolic nature between USDT.D through manipulation or through maybe external factors, that's fine. There's another way we can interpret it and why the relationship works. And that is through the Tether itself. When people, if we thought about Tether, if it was cash, number one, it is the number one alternative currency to cryptocurrency. So when people put money in cryptocurrency, they don't immediately sell from a crypto into cash. They sell into a cash equivalent, such as Tether, which is basically supposed to be one for one with the United States dollar. There are other cryptos that we can use, stable coins that we call them, that are one for one, and they are like USDC, UST, USTN, and there's a few more that exist. But by and far, the number one is that carries the largest amount of market cap is Tether. So when we look at the Tether dominance, the USDT.D chart, what we're seeing and what we're observing is the flow of money into Tether and the flow out of Tether. So when this chart goes up, Tether has more of a dominance and Bitcoin generally is going down. When this chart is going down, Tether's losing its dominance and people are out of that cash position and into Bitcoin. And then the reason it's just important for everyone is because Bitcoin carries the largest portion of the whole market, whether it's inflated or not, whether it's artificial or manipulated or not, which I believe it is in many ways. It doesn't negate the fact that Tether carries everything. So if you understand, that Bitcoin carries the weight of everything. And when Bitcoin's going down, generally it brings down the whole market. Now there's a decoupling that happens with certain cryptos, And that means that Bitcoin doesn't always have the biggest sway over cryptos. And we're going to use this to look at the TOTAL3 chart, which I promised we're going to look at today. This is the list of some of the cryptos I'm going to be looking at today. But USDT.D tells us primarily where the market's going, where Bitcoin's going. It has a sway over the market. There are cryptos that are, the altcoins and some of the other smaller coins that push in those directions, but even ultimately they can't fight against major crashes. We've observed over the years there were sometimes cryptos that were healthy, but we also have to always hold on to what the major market is doing, because if we lose sight of what the major market is doing, then all we're doing many times is trading a crypto that is fighting like a fish against the stream, or a kite against the storm, or maybe a ship against the storm. Sometimes and many times that storm over sometimes a crypto that's lesser known will move into a stronger position, but if everything's coming down around it, then it has a hard time fighting against the storm. However, in contrast, if the market is going in a bullish direction, we want to know those cryptos that are in a good position, because those are the ones we want to ride along with the wind primarily. You guys can do your own homework on comparing one crypto to another, because sometimes there's a very strong relationship between the flow of the overall market and the individual cryptos that you may be looking at. Now, with that said, I'm going to read my report for the USDT.D and some of the things that I wrote regarding the volume spread analysis observations that I made on USDT.D. Okay. The first thing I want you guys to notice is that when we looked at USDT on a larger scale, we are in an uptrend, and then we pulled back, and then we moved up in an uptrend here. Our current region where price is trading is here. Okay, this is a zoomed up close look. Now this says 1W, and if you don't know how to read, that means 1 week. So that means each one of these little red and white candles, in your case it'd be red and green for many of you. I just changed my colors to red and white, my favorite. Our current trend is approximately here. And when we took the key angle on the bottom, okay, at these cores, open coin, thank you, at the bottom, we can see that the key angle on the top is giving us the area where there should be some rejection. So we've isolated that this is approximately the range. We could calculate the top was around 6.17, and when we were here it was wonderful, because then we had a very high chance and high degree of understanding that if there was a rejection, we should be going down. Now this was wonderful for us because we knew that we could be bullish after we rejected from these tops here. We also know this is the prime area to look for that rejection for a few other reasons based on our map. And sure enough, many of you made some money on the way down, which was wonderful. When this chart goes down, Bitcoin moves up, and Bitcoin did indeed move up during that pocket of time, which was approximately from just about the end of September. Okay. If we go right to the bottom, it's around right before the end of September of this year. Now something also happened. This was just from Wednesday. We also are starting to see hints and evidence that this candle may be closing underneath this line, which means there may be the trend broken. Now there's going to be a few things that we're going to talk about that's going to give us confirmation that is actually happening. One of the things that I'm going to be looking for before we know this trend is broken, primarily we look for a selling climax. So if this chart is going up, what I want to see as we're coming up to the top is unusually high volume. I also want to look for candles that are getting a high degree of rejection, such as this one right here on closer towards the middle of September, maybe the beginning of September, somewhere about right here. Oh, sorry, July. It's going to be about July. And to show you what I mean, just to get close to that day, we can flip this here. And so it's going to be sometime before September, which is July, August, right? So sometime around August, this candle right there, okay, next to this white line. We can see we've spiked all the way up here but got rejected down here. These are the types of candles I want to see happening, but I want to see ultra high volume just before these days happen, because that generally indicates a reversal in price, because usually there's a sell or a dump in holdings passed on to retail traders. Now, I already looked at this, and I'm going to show you another thing. If we close below this channel, and this channel is broken, and we have some evidence or strong evidence that it should be reversing, that means there's going to be a continuation of this last little segment, a down move. The uptrend will be broken and a few things can happen. We may fall and we may hit support at 419. If you're taking notes today, know that structures below this channel, 517, is going to primarily bring us to 419. That's going to be the next zone or territory where we're going to be hitting. If we get below 419, we're going to be primarily going to this green and pink zone over here. Now, we already hit and touched our target number 1, which was down here. Okay. We've had that number since the top. But if we go below that 419, we're primarily going to move to these areas a little bit lower, and I'll give you those numbers in just a moment. Okay. So let's give you those numbers more in depth. I'm going to take this as another screenshot, and I'm going to upload. I'm going to show my images. Now, the pink line, I'm going to explain each one of these lines in depth so you can understand what I'm talking about. Closes below, I'm going to go back to a 2-week chart. This is a larger chart. Closes below this 517 area, and I'm going to raise it just to this week. Okay, it's 533 now. Each week that goes up a little bit higher. But closes approximately below 533 or significantly below, around that maybe 517 number. We're going to be looking to cover the distance from here to here. This pink line, this one, comes from a monthly chart where the structure is still intact. Thank you, Superfood. I see that information. Thank you. And on that pink line, I have supports in a few places. I have it here around this structure, here again, and I have some small verification here where the candles couldn't close below there. So I'm seeing a story of meat here. When I duplicated it and placed it as a phantom on the top, I'm getting very close to hitting the core twice. 1, 2, core. These spikes are up here, but the meat of the candles is approximately in this area. So those two areas give me evidence on why this angle may be correct. The other reason that I believe that this angle is very strong is because we have a third point of verification right here just on the bottom. So if this verification wasn't good enough, hitting it right at the core, then us coming up and hitting it a third time right along the pink track. Do you guys see that? We're not making this up. This is not just something we pull out of our eyes. This is something that we can observe happening along this track. Okay, so this pink line is telling us, hey, we're doing it right. This other verification is telling us, hey, we're doing it right. And therefore, if you want to draw this line, I want you to know this pink line is important. Okay, I'm gonna delete this, and I'm gonna just put a little text so you can add this for your own chart. I'm going to put this in pink, and I'm just gonna say this: draw this pink line. It is important. Okay. And it's really good that we see these things because you know what to look for, right? So I'm pointing them out to you. This is not really a follow along type of tutorial. This isn't the Apple Pencil. Where's my Apple Pencil? This isn't the full tutorial or anything, but I do want you guys to have this so you know what it is that is most important. Okay? So 1, 2, verification. And if we're off a little bit, we're still in the general areas. But this is going to be something we need to do. Here's our source point. Here's our secondary point. Okay. This is going to be a key angle. This is our phantom angle. All right. So I will include this image for you guys so you can understand approximately how to draw this one. We've established that. You now know if you fall, you should be slowing down when we hit this track. Only one thing's needed. We need to move this track from our current month or wherever you're at and put it along that track. In this case, it's already there, close to 4.20, 4.19, 4.21, somewhere close to there. We could also move it to next month for November. So if you guys want to know where the bottom is for November. Now, this is important Why? Because if prices, this is a monthly chart. Each one of these is 1 month worth of time. This is the long game, but if you want to know how to use this to your advantage longer term, this is it. So you guys, you'll know it. Okay, you don't. This is how you can combine some prophetic intel. Now, if price is going to fall on USDT.D, what does this mean? It means that Bitcoin can rise and fall all the way down to here before having to check in and stop and make another decision, or sometimes have an active volume push, and we'll see it in the volume, push to the downside. And then from here, we know that we have more room to fall. Otherwise, price may just fall and bounce here. Now, if this is falling, that gives us time to stay bullish. That means we don't want to take profit if this is in a downtrend. Now, again, we have some clues that are going to be revealed is if we really are in that downtrend right now. But right now, primarily, we need to observe if we're going to be coming down from these territories. Okay, because if we are, or if we're in those territories, and you say, "Hey, Jason, should I take profit on my Bitcoin or on my some of my cryptos?" You may want to hold on until we're at a place where you could take profit. That makes sense? All right, thank you. Let's see. I'm going to now go into my next segment. This needs to be a little shrunk. Okay, so you guys still with me? I'm hoping I'm explaining this in a good way. Now, the next thing I'm going to share is the volume spread analysis that I see for this current segment. And I believe there's a campaign that's happening here. The first one, I'm going to say this one right here. All right. USDT.D facts. USDT.D represents often the entire market because it dictates a majority of what Bitcoin will do, and Bitcoin has the largest share, or in the crypto sphere, so to speak. We observed the accumulation areas. We marked this with an A. However, we also noticed the up moves did not have active major selling campaign. This means that without professional participation, the market here falls. No major pressure is needed. This also means that we can use this information to our advantage to predict the future. Overall, they want this to go higher, but they are not ready. They will let price fall here, then accumulate again at lower prices. I suspect, according to our map, around 3.57. All that is needed is to hunt the up move, which we did. Okay, so I'm going to break this down, and I'm going to explain. So on Wednesday, I performed this analysis. What we can see here is a large down move. Here, we see another large down move. Here we have an up move, which I've marked in green. An up move and an up move. We can see that clock type of pattern that we draw often when we're drawing straight up like that, and we can see the slowing of the movement. On reverse, it almost is a down move straight down, then it starts moving a little bit angled, and then it goes again until eventually there's a proper turning. Here's that proper turning. It's straight up almost, and then it's a little bit at an angle, and then it's more of at a horizontal angle, and then finally the weakness is revealed underneath this area, and then we have the reversal happen. So this is a very common thing to market. But because we have these legs, we can actually break this down and observe what is happening. From a volume spread analysis perspective, which I'm teaching on Wednesdays. If you guys didn't catch my last one, I think I did a good job teaching that one from lesson 16. But we have a large down move. And then we start seeing, as we near the bottoms especially, we start seeing the reversal type candles we're looking for and a strong increase in volume. If professionals, we remember that professional selling has to happen generally in up moves, and it happens primarily at the top, in up moves and up bars, because they have to sell into the buying or the buying frenzy of the retails or the mass of the market. When they're buying or accumulating over time, when they start buying to absorb the supply, you're going to actually see that they buy on the way down. They want the lowest prices they can, and generally they're going to buy into the panic and fear of everyone else. Now, when we mark it on a chart, it starts painting a picture. What I've observed is that when we came down here, a strong increase in volume was happening. What was this? This was the first absorption. This was the first beginning of the accumulation. This was some buying happening. And when we see buying happen over time, we can see what they're doing. They're actually accumulating. We did the volume zone blocks, which we talked about from Wednesday, and we knew in this area is where we need to be looking for the next period of accumulation. As we come down again, what do we see on the down move? A strong increase in the volume. So we can find there's more accumulation happening in the same volume zone block where it should be happening. Then later on, we have another down move from here to here. Now this is a weekly chart, so this is happening over a long period of time, but it's going to paint the picture. What they're doing as it's coming down is the professionals are buying up that supply. Okay, a strong increase in volume in the relative locations where they should be. So I have 3 major periods of accumulation. This is an active campaign to raise this higher at some point in the future. Okay, did you guys got that? If you're taking notes, there's an active campaign to raise this higher at some point in the future to somewhere higher. However, what happens is to move major portions of the market and to control, there has to be a strong absorption of supply, especially with markets that are fixed liquidities. Although USDT.D could be debated if it's a fixed liquidity pool because there's printing that goes on. For the most part, it is controlled. For the most part, it's not just printing totally out of control, but there's some degree of that. But we can see, even without that, an active intention. On the way down, they're accumulating. So that means that they plan for it to rise sometime in the future. So we can look for clues on when that's going to happen. However, there's something else we need to see. As we came to the tops, was there an active distribution? So meaning if they took profit or if they bought, did they take profit? Again, if they entered, did they exit? What we can see here is that as we came up on these 3 times, they did not have any active distribution campaigns. We don't see a major dump comparatively in the volume. We would see a strong volume here at the top, meaning they bought, then they took profit and exited. What we see is that the market falls without professional support. This is neutral. There's no real major active campaign. In fact, all it is a decrease in volume. So the market doesn't have the participation to maintain higher prices at that time. Price needs to cool off. And the moment it does cool off, they start buying again. Are you guys still with me? Remember, this chart can help predict the entire market because it can predict what Bitcoin is doing. And I'm giving it to you now in another way, apart from the map. We're reading it from the language of volume spread analysis. Without professional participation, we can see the market naturally will fall. Okay, we can use this now to our advantage to understand what is going to happen next in the future. So number 1, facts. We observe accumulation areas. They're accumulating. This means they want it higher. But we also can see in hindsight, especially, without the professional support, the market will fall. And this is common for a lot of cryptos. But this is a very easy thing to see here. Structural weakness means the market will fall. But we also didn't see them get out, which means the major players, imagine this like a game of back and forth. What are the major players doing? They're already in the market and they want more. Now, the next thing that's going to happen is going to reveal primarily a majority of their intention. All right, so I showed you, move down, accumulation, move down, accumulation, move up, no interest, decrease in volume, no interest. So they're going to let it fall, but they're not interested in selling or taking profits. So where are they? They're still in. Number 2, as the market came down, accumulation. Again, they're still interested. There's the ramp up in energy. They're gobbling up these lower prices. It's like you're going to buy a neighborhood or you're playing a Monopoly. And when you play Monopoly and it comes to that neighborhood, everybody at the table says, I don't want to buy that. And you're waiting. You're like so happy because you want to buy that and you want to buy it for the cheapest price. You don't want it to go to auction. That's why you guys can learn a lot from Monopoly. You don't want it to go to auction. You don't want the prices raised. You want it dirt cheap. When I play Monopoly with Melody, we play Sonic Monopoly. And I love when I try to play nonchalant. I don't want her to know that I really want that property. Okay? When you guys see this in the market, you know what they're doing. They're not interested in driving up the prices right now. They are interested in buying. Did you catch that? They're not interested in the higher prices just yet. They were interested, however, in buying, in accumulating. But because they're interested in accumulating, that means at some point in the future, it is going to be higher. And what does that mean? Let's just put it together before we continue, just to make sure you guys are still following along. When this chart is up here, what does that mean for the price of Bitcoin? Okay. When this chart is up here in the sky, what does that mean for the price of Bitcoin? Bad. That's a dump. Think of how far price fell just from this movement here. It lost a lot of price. We were down to the 40s. We were in the 50s. We were coming from the high 60s. Okay. During that time. Now, if we're up here, sorry, that was the window we had the rise, sorry. When this one goes up, yeah. From here all the way down, let's just look at this together. Let's look at this bottom in the date from 2021. I want to give a clear segment. I don't want to confuse it. Let's pick right here from June, July, August, right before, we're going to say about November of 2021, okay, on Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin 2021 at the end of 2021. Here was the end of 2021 and the price was around 68. What was where I put this? Here's a high of around 67. The low was around 16,000 between November of 22. Comparatively, that's a huge drop. 300% gain if we had bought it at 16, but a drop showing percentage wise 75%. Sorry, we get some hot mics. One moment, let me mute everybody upon entry. Okay, 75% drop in price from November 2021. Okay, I'll just put this one, and here is November 2022. Okay, 1 year span, 75% drop, and USDT.D was from this same time frame. Okay, I'm gonna just show you. Here's the USDT.D. Let's get you a better picture of that, one that's clear. Here's the bottom. There's November 2021. This one here's September 2023, so November 2022. November 2022. So if you have this chart, you have a lot of information. Of this, could we have tracked it? Oh yeah, you bet we could have. Which we did. Even the simple energy centers from here to here could easily help us reveal further weaknesses, which would solidify approximately here in December. January 2023. Okay, so it might not be safe to reverse our position on Bitcoin. Now, if this chart goes up, what was Bitcoin doing? When this chart went up, Bitcoin was going down. Okay, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the relationship between USDT.D and Bitcoin. Okay, when this chart going up, Bitcoin is going down comparatively in the same area. If you were reading Bitcoin and you're waiting for Bitcoin to go up, you can read them in tandem. You have now two pieces of the puzzle, so you're not completely at the mercy of Bitcoin, or you're not completely at the mercy of USDT.D. Here's the two relevant areas, relevant energy centers. Here's the health. There's the sword cut. If you were drawing a sword cut in orange, it'd be about right here. Okay, do you guys see this? Okay, all right, let's continue with this part of the presentation. I told you I was going to give you a report about the USDT.D situation, what I believe is happening with the whole market. But before you understand what's happening with the whole market, you need to understand what has happened, what is happening, how to recognize it, so you can see it happen with or without me. My job is to empower you so that when you're millionaires and billionaires, you're not at the mercy of Uncle Lou, of Theo Joe, of the internet guru. You can see with your own two eyes. All right, let's continue. All the people sing, holy. Here's what I saw in the data, just to show you my other two images. We can see from the data an active accumulation campaign. This means overall, USD.D is expected longer term to move up. So I'm expecting somewhere up in the sky later on. I'm going to put this just a little circle. Future expectancy term. We know we're going to be somewhere higher because of the active campaign. Now, does the active campaign always win? No, not always. But if you see the smart traders or the large professional institutional traders doing these things, then you're generally going to be correct. Okay? Again, this means if USDT.D is somewhere in this zone that is negative, as Wayne's World so eloquently put out, so elegantly, it's negative. This is negative for Bitcoin. Okay? If I'm up here in the sky, that is very bad for Bitcoin, because we already told you what happens when this one goes up, as I showed you in my pictures. All right. When this chart moves up, Bitcoin moves down. In conclusion, therefore, we can make from this data, we can conclude that Bitcoin at some time is expected to move expected to have much lower prices. So if price of Bitcoin is at 68,000, then sometime in the future we might be going back down to where? Maybe close to these levels. Close to these levels. If we go up there again, what was the price of Bitcoin when we hit these levels of USDT? 16,000. So if I'm seeing an active accumulation campaign, I'm actually expecting it to be much higher. Okay, and I'll show you where I'm expecting. Number one, we have a few things we can use to gauge that range. It is this yellow line. This is the second one you want to draw. It is a parabolic. Okay, this parabolic is designed and made from this core, which is the meat here. I'm going to show you. Let's see if I can take a better image. Okay. All right. Let me move these aside so you guys can have this. I'm going to borrow one of these and place it here, right at the meat in 1.06, July 15th, 2019. Okay. July 15th, 2019 area. See if I can put as many candles in here as possible so you guys can see it. All right. So there it is. Somewhere about right here is where the core is. Along that track, I'm connecting it and bending it to this energy center here, closer to here. Again, this is a weekly chart. And then there's another one approximately about here, and it touches that pink line. But then it bows. And why does it bow? On the top side, we have energy here, and if you want to draw it, it's probably better to draw it on the top as the key angle. So let's just put KA on the top, and this bottom will be phantom. Place it about right there. Okay. Here's a wick. Here's a wick, approximately. Here's a wick core. It's a little bit messy, and then here's a wick. The root of this is going to be approximately here. The overall curvature is going to be somewhere around here, and when we bend it and bring it straight down according to the rules of sword method parabolic, it starts touching these points here. Let me prove it to you in real life. Let's do this together. Okay? So I have multiple places. 1, 2, 3, 4. I get in this area, which is still resistance, messy, but still. If I move this line straight down, okay, if I move it straight down without moving it to the left or to the right, and I place it here at the core, I'm getting these other areas as bonus verifications. So if I place it here, I'm getting here, and I'm getting here, and I'm getting here. If I don't draw it from here, I'm still getting that area. Why? What is this telling me? This telling me verification. I did it right. Okay. If this is our key angle, this is telling me I'm doing it right. Therefore, where's my next bottom? Underneath the pink, this is my next bottom. It's approximately 3.4. And then it starts to level out around 3.66 later on around September of 2025. But for the rest of this year, if this goes straight down or we completely crack that pink line, and you're like, oh, Jae-Sung, I don't know where the market's going next. I don't know. Should I take profit? Should I take profit? Watch this come down to about right there along this track, this price, and you know exactly where to look for the next reversal. If this is coming down, the market's going to be doing what? Somebody tell me.
Up.
This market will be up. I'm going to type that in here so you guys remember. If the market is falling on, if the USDT chart is falling, it should fall the 4.25 area, and below there it should fall toward the 3.47 area. This, make sure I can put this now. If it is in this area, you will observe, or should observe, that the crypto markets, primarily Bitcoin, will be bullish. You can use this chart to know where to take profit in a bull market. Okay, so the two areas, 4.25 and 3.47. Let's put the date on here. October 19th. Yeah, I don't know what the day is. Yeah, 2024. www.patreon.com. Share this chart at your discretion. Just be easy about it. Okay? Make sure you stress the importance if you are sharing this chart. The people sing, oh, all the nations sing. So you got it? Now you have the two most important points, and whether I'm here or not, when the market's here, you're going to know that you can take profit, 4.25 and 3.47. Everybody understand? So that's going to be a wonderful thing for you, right? So you know, based on the verification, that's where you're going to go. Now, do we have information about the flow through volume spread analysis that we are primarily going to be going towards the pink line? The answer is going to be yes. Here's the rest of the report for USD.D, and then I'm going to show you how it relates to Bitcoin, and then we'll be able to move on with the other cryptos. The final thing I said about the USDT.D is this. In conclusion, let's read the last move here. Okay, so we understand that in our last up moves, where we are experiencing the deceleration from accelerated adjustment zones, I believe it's lesson number 4. Accelerated adjustment zones, we can see that when we read those relative areas in volume spread analysis, lesson number 15 and lesson number 16, we are decreasing in volume. Okay? Apart from the end sell-offs, a little bit, we don't see a major distribution campaign. So without professional interest, we naturally fall and they gobble up. That means they want to gobble up. They're not taking profit yet. They're just gobbling up. So what do they really want? Not that they're driving prices down, but they're just holding back because they know the market's going to fall without the professional support. Whether that's the printing of Tether, whether that's the buying of Tether, we can see they're not really interested in it being high just yet longer term. But they are interested in up through the accumulation, as I broke down so eloquently. Now this leads us with one last thing to look at, this last up move. In this last up move, we already saw what they did in the last up moves. They showed they didn't want it higher at the moment, and they let it fall. If they were actively taking profit, why would they take profit lower unless there was something to really change their mind? Number one. They are actively looking for it to be at lower prices, although they're not selling it like a distribution majorly, just maybe very small. Okay, now, are we in an uptrend? Yes, we already established that. We can even read where the weakness happens to confirm it. But what does the volume tell us? The volume tells us this. There's still a decrease. Look in the relative areas. I marked it with the blue so you can see that I'm talking truth. Here's how you know I'm speaking truth. Look at the bottom here of that up move and look at the relative area of volume. It's right there, right where I marked the blue, right? So therefore, what is the volume doing? It's decreasing. What did it happen last time when we were up in these up areas? It was decreasing. 1, 2, 3. And 1 section, 2 section, 3 section. Decrease, decrease, decrease. And then we go up. They are accumulating on the down move. Great. That means they want higher prices. But is it now? Look at this up move. There is a decrease. So do they want to rise it right now? The answer is, I believe it was a no. Which means the higher odds is that this thing is going to fall at some time because it's moving up, but without professional support. Now, when this moves up, that means Bitcoin's falling. And what does this mean in conclusion? It means, in conclusion, they do not want to make Bitcoin fall yet. Did you hear what I said? If you're taking notes, you need to remember right now there's no active campaign for Bitcoin to fall. Big takeaway. There is no major active campaign to crash Bitcoin yet. There will be, let me rephrase that. Because there is an active campaign, but it's not active. There is a campaign. There's no major active campaign. There is a campaign to crash Bitcoin, but it is not active yet. This will occur, or this usually will occur, when there has been a significant absorption of prices at lower levels. In English, this means we will see multiple accumulation efforts at lower prices, followed with accompanying increases in volume. If the supply or majority of the supply has been accumulated, then we may see very little volume in those same volume zone blocks. See lesson 16, sword method 6.0. In other words, as we come back down to these levels, you may see either ultra high volume on the down move, or, but by the way, most likely less than previous volume in the same area, or very little volume. So I'm going to take a screenshot what this looks like. Okay. So again, accumulation, they're not interested in having it high just yet. They are having a campaign, but it's not active yet. They haven't launched the campaign. You can see what they're doing. They're positioning their pieces to take advantage of a very high maneuver being this high in the sky. You guys know this. You're going to know what's happening in the crypto sphere. I'm telling you, you got to learn this. I'm taking my time. Please don't be angry. We have one more up move. They are not interested in it yet. That means what's the more active campaign? What's the more active effort is that they are not interested in helping push up prices. They want more accumulation. They want more of these A's. So they want to see one more A down here. I'm going to duplicate this chart and I'm going to edit this one and I'm going to draw. There is an A here somewhere. Okay. The evidence shows we're going there. Okay. The evidence shows that this is what they want. I'm going to put this in my text. Put a little text box. The evidence shows there will be another accumulation area, either ultra high volume, as I mentioned earlier, or very little volume, which is called, that would equal no demand, or what I call ND. You guys see me put this ND on my chart many times, not N, but ND, no demand. Okay. Now what no demand, and I'm going to draw what both looks like. Okay. I'm going to put this in the area so you have all of this. This is my hard work report for you guys, so you guys understand what is happening. It's either going to look like this. Where's my pencil? Volume, very little. That would be a no demand. That means the absorption is complete. No demand would mean the absorption is complete. The campaign will launch. Okay, I'm giving you the future here, guys. You guys don't believe me, you're going to see it. Everything in this video is never financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. Everything's just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. Trading the markets carries substantial risk. Never trade more than you can afford to lose, and especially be aware against high leverage trading. No demand would mean the absorption is complete and the campaign will launch relatively soon. That's when we would look for health in the map. Let me make this a little bit smaller. and then we're going to continue more. You got to understand this. Okay, so this would be scenario number 1. Okay, and I'm going to put this on my chart. Scenario number 1. Got it? Scenario number 2, because there's only 2 that I'm looking for. Let's duplicate this out. By the way, take a screenshot now if you want to. Okay, take a screenshot now if you want to, so you don't have to wait for my image notes to come out. One moment. Again, you got this. If you get this chart, even if you don't know how to replicate it, at least you know how to understand what I'm showing you, so that when you have these pictures and it happens this way, you know exactly what you're looking for. All of you should be primarily looking to take profit this year or those months or in that season, or you need to be staying in. Okay, because one of the major problems that traders have, or longer term holders, we get out too early and we get out way too soon. But we can see in the data what the big players, the professionals are doing, the financial institutions, the hedge funds, syndicates, what they're doing. Okay, now here's that scenario number 1. I'm going to now give you scenario number 2. Scenario number 2. Okay, so I said there's either going to be, this evidence shows there will be another accumulation area, either ultra high volume or very little volume, which is no demand, or ND. Okay, ND we already covered. The other volume would look like this. So let's draw it, and we would have some very strong ultra high volume type bars, with the average being somewhere lower. Ultra high volume example. On the down move, we would, if we see this, we would observe this as another accumulation or absorption. I'll just leave it as accumulation. Okay, so remember, we have A1, A2, A3. If we come back down here, we're going to be looking primarily for another accumulation. Make sure you guys don't miss this part if we're in this area, and that would be on ultra high volume. Now, just so you know, I'm not going to do another scenario number 3, but if there was, and I see higher volume scenario than this, higher volume than this level, and you guys can write this since you're in this video, but if I see the volume is up there, like around 4.4 trillion, then what I'm going to assume is that there's too much supply and there's too much of a market, and then you're going to therefore see prices come even lower than just maybe this volume block in this area. We're going to see it come down even further. However, if we see a gradual absorption of price or even the no demand situation, that means they already accumulated all the floating supply. Okay, so again, on the down move, we're going to see that happen. They're not interested in up move. They're not interested in the up move. We already showed you that. They are interested in buying up in these, and one day they are going to launch that campaign, but they need to absorb all the total supply so that it cannot be manipulated against them. So they're going to be absorbing one more time in the future. Okay, maybe in the next few months, maybe in November, October, December, we're going to see it. But when you see it in those areas, we're going to observe, are we having scenario number 1, the no demand, the very little volume? And if so, then that means the reversal will probably be imminent. We'll look for the health or signs of health. We'll calculate where those will be at, and then you'll be able to see it in real time. You're going to be like, this is the bottom of the market. If we see it too high, ultra high volume, but higher than this, we know then that's probably going to mean we're going to go down a little bit more because there's too much of a market, too much floating supply. But if we do see it just ultra high volume and it's less than this one right here, which is primarily what I believe is going to happen, that means it's going to be one of the accumulation areas. Either way, we still have to wait for health, but you're going to be able to see where that bottom is. Primarily, if this is the top, and I'm not drawing it just yet, but if this is the top, I'm going to draw an angle from here to here. I'm going to get that angle, and I'll be able to calculate where the bottom is. It's probably going to be about right here. Now, the reason I'm not doing it yet is because this top is not in. And number 2, I already have that top. Okay, I already have that bottom. I have 2 bottoms, actually. One here, but there's another angle that we are going to draw from here to here. I'm not drawing that one just yet, but even if I did, it's giving me this vortex approximately here. Do you understand? I already have that number. The number is this 3-4 area, the 347 that I gave you in the notes. Does everybody understand that? That's why these numbers are real important. If you didn't know what I meant or that all went through your head, I know. That's why I'm trying to go slow and teach you, or at least explain to you. I'm not pulling these numbers out of a hat. I'm pulling these numbers based on vortexes, based on the structures, based on the data. I'm not drawing this one preemptively, but even if I did, it's still giving me the same leveled out parabolic, or very close to a very parabolic, based on years of data. Here's 2018. Okay, everybody got that? Based on targeting system, which was already active once for this one, and now we have the swing target, which is the pink target here. Okay, so I already know primarily where those supports are. Does I have any other questions before now I show you Bitcoin? Okay, that's what's going to happen in the market. Oh yeah, I need to give you this. There's a close at 5.33. If I get the close in 1 day and 10 hours, that may mean that we may go down. However, for the month, that still may play an active target. I will show you this last thing. We're going to look on a daily chart just to slow down this last up movement. As we come to this major top here in these same areas on August 5th, I see ultra high volume on an up bar followed by a down move. And then when I come back down to this area again, I see just average volume at this top. I don't see a major selling, but if there was any kind of big drop, it's going to be here. We come back down to here on low supply. This may just be a supply test. Either way, I really want to stay below 5.3 before I'm really going to be thinking that this is going to go down more. And we're already experiencing some candles and some rejection just underneath that area, which tells us we are reversing. Is this a time when this is going to go down? Yes. Is Bitcoin probably going to go up? Primarily, probably. So I would be careful about taking some profit just yet based on this new breakout. And I have another piece of data, which I'm going to show you in Bitcoin, which lends me to believe that's going to be the case. Okay, so right now, it's very likely we're going to stay down here. Okay. The certain things I'm going to be looking for, and I'm going to be looking for a volume push primarily on the bars where the breakout happens. Here's possibly that volume push to stay on this side on a daily chart. That small candle with this doji followed by an up bar and rejection. This one right there, Wednesday, October 16th. Okay, October 16th, 2020, possible volume push. And what this means to keep this going down. This equals good for coin. Okay, so is this a false breakout? Possibly not. Possibly a real breakout and evidence that we're going to be possibly going lower. I don't want to draw a line because then you guys will ask me the price. Okay, evidence for going lower. This is more relevant for you guys now, currently. What's going on this week? You guys want to know what's going on this week? This is it. I'm giving you the secret. Okay, for this week / month, I should say. Okay, because sometimes it could take several days or even a few weeks under there. But this structure breaking in this area is a clue of what's happening. Okay, good for a Bitcoin. No, not coin. Okay, got it? Take a screenshot if you want. Remember, this is never guaranteed, but the evidence is showing so far that is what's happening. Okay, so go ahead and take a screenshot if you want. Now I'll take any questions. So we broke it down. If you missed parts, you guys can go back to the video and you can see that full report for USDT.D. Okay, make sure you got your screenshots. No, Tommy, I didn't do any cryptos right now just yet. Okay? I will, but right now I think it's important for me to take this time to finish this report. So I wanted to do cryptos today, and I'll try to do a few of them. I'll try to accomplish as many as I can, even if I have to just do them privately and get them back to you guys. But I want to make sure that you guys are knowing my report for what is going to be happening in the crypto over the next few months, so that you guys all have a good grasp on what's happening. You want to know what's happening with Bitcoin. You want to know what's happening with the markets. You want to know what's really happening, when the crash is going to happen. That's the secret. According to this data, is the crash going to happen? The answer is no, not yet. I know, Mr. Mo, thank you for raising your hand. I just see your hand. This data suggests the crash is not going to happen right now. The crash shows us the data also tells us, is there a crash coming? Absolutely. There is a crash coming. We can see, hold on, as I explained in my report, there is a crash coming. There's an active accumulation campaign. What will we be looking for? As I showed you, the ultra high volume scenario, and I also showed you the no demand scenario. Okay, so go back and watch the video till you understand it, and then it's going to reveal to you what I believe is going to be happening. All right, Mr. Mall, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Mall.
How are you?
Good, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking.
I just wanted to double check that there wasn't a third scenario that you had played out.
Yeah, the third scenario is ultra high volume. Yeah, I didn't draw it on there, but that's if the volume is very high, but in relative to the other volume down move. Here, this is it. So you guys all know if you see it. But I should be here to be there if that happens. So if we see ultra high volume scenario, I'm going to be comparing it not just to the average and not just to the macro, but in the macro realm, this one right here, meaning the overall realm, that area right there. Okay. So if I'm getting much higher volume than the last time we were down, but the volume is very high, that means that there's too much supply. That means they're going to drop it to lower prices and try to start the accumulation again. So we're going to see even more higher Bitcoin, because if this chart comes way down here, Bitcoin's going to be very high during that scenario. Okay, does that make sense? That would be a scenario number 3. This report here, if say tomorrow God calls me to a country or whatever that I need to be in, if I leave you with just USDT.D, Bitcoin in TOTAL3, you know almost everything you need to know. Okay, you guys have majority of what you need to know, and I'm not just. If you guys ask for an individual request about a chart, is it important? Yes. But what's more important is to do the best on your analysis that you have, but you have each other, and compare that to what's happening with the whole market. Because remember, even if you have a winner, you did your analysis great, you still have to take in consideration the entire market, because you could be the one fish swimming against a stream. I've had cryptos that were in good position, but the market was so bearish that it swamped that crypto, and it was like it got caught back in the wave. And so because of that, if you keep a good eye on that what's happening, it paints a picture, then you can weigh all the circumstances. If the market is bullish and your crypto is bullish, maybe don't take profit. If you see a good entry or a healthy entry on the crypto you're looking at and the market's bullish, maybe take the entry. If you have a crypto that's healthy, but the market is very bearish, maybe don't invest as much. Or if you don't take the risk, or if you're at a top and it can go either way and you don't have strong enough evidence to buy, don't buy it off. Sit on the sidelines. If you have a crypto that's very weak and you could say, man, this looks like it's at a top, and the market appears to be at a top as well based on the USDT.D, Bitcoin, and TOTAL3, then you have evidence that you may want to sell or even take a short and reverse your position in the market. Does that make sense? So what these is going to do is help paint you a picture. So again, if all you had was these top 3, all these other cryptos, most of what to do. I hope this blesses you, my friends. I hope me spending time on Wednesdays and teaching you these lessons on how to read, even if you don't know how to draw yet. You're sitting over my shoulder. We're reading the markets together. You guys are growing, you're learning, and I get to be involved in your life by helping you understand what it is you're reading. I won't always be here. But when you are reading, you can read any book you want. I fell in love with my first girlfriend at the age of kindergarten. I loved her. Her name was Amber. I loved her in kindergarten. Cute little girl, can't remember what she looks like, with red hair. And I loved her because she taught me how to read. She brought me, they put the desk in a spiral, and we'd always go in the middle of the spiral and sit down in the desk, and she'd read to me. I didn't know how to read, but I sat over her shoulder, and she was so smart, she read that book. And she got me into reading. And by the time I was in high school, I was already reading at the college level, I think as a freshman. And I got to skip a whole class. Number one, I got to skip a whole class. And even in my elective class, all I got to do was kick back and read newspapers, because all I had to do was do something that involved reading. And I could read whatever I wanted, because I already tested to read at such a high level. I was reading really big novels that I didn't understand. They were frustrating to read, these novels. But I read them over the course of the summer. And when I had came back, my reading level was off the charts. This is compared to somebody who failed reading in 7th grade. I had failed reading. I cried in front of the teacher. When my teacher brought me and my mother there and she told me, I'm sorry you flunked the class. I cried. The teacher felt so bad. She started crying and she said, fine, I'll just give you a D+. And with that D+, I passed. This is so sad, embarrassing. I passed the class because the teacher felt bad for me. But I made it up to myself by forcing myself to understand and to read. Now what we're doing here with ChartRoom is I'm teaching you how to read. It's great that I'm here to do these charts, but what if, again, the Lord calls me here or to do that or do whatever it is I'm doing, which there's a lot of things I'm doing you guys don't know about. And I want to let you guys know, from a chart perspective, I want you to take responsibility for your charts. Take some responsibility to learn. I have videos there and I'm here. You guys can email me questions. Hey, I'm having trouble understanding this concept or that concept or whatever. I'll direct you to some resources. I'll work with you. You have me here. All right? Hallelujah. I have a few things I'm going to show you on Bitcoin. Okay. Number one, coin is in this current oscillation. Let's put on a weekly chart. You all have this, and I gave it to you also on Wednesday. There was active selling right there. Yep. Here at the top. Yet, look at the effort. We come down, immediately come back up, come down, immediately come back up, come down, immediately come back up, come down, immediately come back up. This is the oscillation, and we're going to read it in the macro from the volume. This is the oscillation. It is a downtrend. DP projection puts us exactly at 83,000. If we break out and we build higher, this is Bitcoin. Now, we last left our image notes showing evidence that there will be a crash sometime in the future, but now is not the time for the crash, as we've seen in the data. They don't want it there just yet. If anything, USDT.D is still going to go down, which means it's bullish for Bitcoin. On a smaller scale, it appears that there may be a breakout and reasons based on the volume that this is on purpose, which means this may be going down now. Okay? USDT.D. If that goes down, Bitcoin goes up. Where's Bitcoin right now? It's been in this current oscillation. However, the breakout price was 65, around 65. Okay? We said it may hit the 68s, and we have to be a little bit careful because the spikes are already spiking past that area. So I don't want to just buy it willy-nilly. I want to wait for a confirmed close or some evidence. Now, there's a few things we're going to look at. From a structural perspective, I want to see some solid closes above here, primarily on the weekly or monthly charts. Here is the number. The number to beat is 66, about, yeah, there. Okay, I put this green dot well in advance when we get that close. We have 1 day, 10 hours left to go. The last time we should have rejected was here. We came down, but only this far. Now, how can we prove what's going to happen next? We can do it a few ways, but I would love to just kind of get you involved for just a few moments. Do I have any ideas about how we can use this to our advantage to determine if we're going to be hitting the DP projection at 83,000 from 66 to 83, or if we're just having a false breakout and we're going to come back down? Is there anyone that has any bright ideas apart from USDT.D? Okay, are we going here, or is this a false breakout? What can we do? Anybody? Using sword method. Any bright ideas? We got about 20 people here. I'm sure if we put our minds together, we might think of some evidence. Volume, that's a great one. We can look at volume. What type of volume are we going to be looking for? The answer in this example would be pushing volume. I want to see pushing volume primarily at the breakout, which is this candle here. I want to see an ultra high volume bar right here. Now, the reason this would be more unique is because we already hit the tops, so we have a baseline for what the volume should be like on 1, 2, 3 candles. Let me show you. Okay, here's the tops, and I'm going to be looking at it in 1, 2, 3 areas as a baseline. So I'll know if I look on here and I see unusual volume, unusual high, it's probably a spike. The relative areas are as follows. Here and here. Primarily on the up bar, up movement, these two white ones. Then I'm going to be comparing them to here. what do we see in scenario number one? We actually see very little volume on the top. So there's no distribution campaign. Very little as we come back up to the top, very low volume. Then we come up to the top again, very long candles, look at the spread, followed by a back-to-back bar, but in that up move, it's very little volume, okay? In all cases, we've seen almost a decrease in volume, even in a micro level. I'm gonna show you here. One, decrease. Two, and what's this one? Yeah, even this is gonna be, let me move here, a very small decrease. Then this one up here, as we come up, it's going to be a decrease as we're in these areas, here to here. Those ones to here. Okay, small decrease in volume. This is from a more micro level. We're going to be talking about this in the next 2 weeks. But in contrast, from the times that we are coming up here, I am seeing a slight increase in volume. It's the only time. Now it's very subtle, but it could give us a hint that there's pushing volume. Let's put that in our report. October 19th, 2024. Though it is subtle, there is small evidence that price is being pushed higher and not stopped. Pushed higher. Remember, there is also no active distribution / selling campaign. Okay, no active. Okay, so at the moment, there is going to be a crash. There is a campaign, but it's not active at the moment, meaning they're not actively taking profit on any time they had bought in the past. I don't see profit taking here. We do, however, need to now observe, is there active accumulation campaign? Okay, now I already did this one for you. Anyone want to guess what I'm going to see on this down move here? This one right here, back from November 21 all the way to November 2022. Remember, this is Bitcoin. The answer is an increase in volume. There is an active campaign to buy up Bitcoin. And did they buy it up at this hour, at this last down move? Yes, they did. There was an active buying campaign, which means they want Bitcoin higher currently. So just from a Bitcoin perspective, they do want it higher, and so far price rise. Now, if price rises too fast, or there's an active selling campaign, which there was some evidence of selling, we want to see the strength of that wave of selling. Comparatively, we had a large increase in volume of buying at the last down move, way down here, but the selling was a small selling, very small. So it looks like what was happening here, it's either a supply check, how much supply is up there, or some profit taking. Was there a major profit taking? No, because every time we came back to those same levels, what was the volume? Very strong decrease, which means lack of participation. Are they actively taking profit? No, they are not. Okay, so I'm going to give you this. I wrote this down. However, my concern is larger, therefore we understand ChartRoom during the... I'm going to give you another one just to make sure, put it in more English. Okay, I put the macro. You guys have that previously. Okay. October 19th, 2024. Remember, there is an active buying campaign. We can see this in the data. However, or in addition, we do not see major profit taking, which means, this means the professional money or the smart money is still bullish longer term until then. If we combine this information with the lack of interest in the down move, then we can assume this down move is a correction. That means price moving down is just a moment of rest for the uptrend to gain more momentum. Ideally, we would like to see more buying coming in, but this is okay if there was already buying, as we see in 2022. Okay. So again, as we're on our way down, we'd want to see more buying come in, a second accumulation. But that's okay as long as we see a clear trend one way or another. We see a clear trend on the downside with lack of professional interest, a clear lack of interest to the down move, which means this is one small blip in the larger term. When price moves, it doesn't just move straight up. It moves and then it pulls back, moves and pulls back. This pullback is called a correction. Okay? Sometimes during that pullback, we're going to see an ultra high volume on the down bar. We're going to see the strong increase in volume on those down moves or down bars. But if the buying already came in, this is what I'm explaining. If the buying already came in, which we saw come in, then when we have the next time where we have pullback, we don't need to see ultra high volume come in because it already came in. Does that make sense? If the buying already came in, all we need to see is lack of selling pressure, and then price will reverse eventually sometime in the future, which could be evidence that it's happening today, now, this week. Okay, so let me prove it to you and just show you real quick. So let's take a look at these last down moves here so you guys can get this in your understanding. So we're going to look at just quickly these small down moves. Here's the volume. We had the strong buying come in all the way till this time right here of October 22. Then we rose, okay? We had some strong volume on these up bars, but still more price movement. So the retail's getting involved, okay? Buying frenzy, but there's no down move. There's just a continuation of the up move, a very small pullback. On that pullback, what was the volume doing? It was decreasing. The volume's increasing on the up move. There's still prices that are higher to go, but there's no selling that's happening. There's no major selling going on. Then we come back up again, the spreads get really small, and then we have a small down move, but still another situation. Small selling. What was this? Just cooling off. We moved up too fast. We need to cool up. This was a correction. Then we go up and there's an increase in volume in the up move. So there's harmony in the market. There's a balance to the market. The flow is correct. Here we are now experiencing a down move, but what is the volume doing? It's decreasing. So therefore, this is going to be a lot like this segment from all the way from April 2023 to October of 2023. That lasts a lot of months, but it was a correction. This from February of 2024 all the way till now, October, has been almost a year, and that's part of, I believe, the correction. So the evidence is that this is a correction. Okay, so that's why I put that in the report for you guys. So again, USDT.D is telling us we may be moving out to the breakout. We also see that from here to here, there was no major selling campaign. The people who bought did not take profits. Does that make sense? I'm just going to put that in one more time so you guys have this for a conclusion. In conclusion, for Bitcoin, the people who bought did not take profits. Evidence supports this is a correction. The up move may resume in the future. Possibly now. Okay, we have to put the story together, but that's what that means. That this down move is a correction. I'm going to point out just a few areas. April, October 2023. Oops, I already put the R in it. April 3. This is a correction. Okay, that one. This one is a correction. Okay, so the data is suggesting this move from Bitcoin is a correction, temporary. This area down here was an accumulation. Okay, this area was accumulation. So what are the professionals doing with Bitcoin? They want Bitcoin because that means that we're going to be hitting higher prices in the future. Until we see them get out, we have no reason to believe otherwise. Okay. Future higher prices. So we can assume that if we're holding Bitcoin longer term, we're in the correct. Okay, based on multiple pieces of data, as I showed you from my reports today. Does that make sense? Okay, if USDT. So if Bitcoin is, let me go back. Okay, USDT.D having its breakout should see us at higher prices. Break to the downside should see Bitcoin higher prices. If that's really what's happening right now in these seasons, it would behoove us to be a little bit bullish. I would probably want some more closes on the weekly chart, 1 day, 10 hours at least. But the evidence is suggesting that that this is going to be hitting sometime here in the future. Maybe October, maybe November, but that means there's going to be a bull run possibly before the end of the year to 4.25 or even 3.4. So read those reports again. All these image notes will be placed on my chart at the on our website at the end. So now that leaves us with the last few questions. Is this a breakout right now? Again, we saw that there's evidence that this is a small push. It's not that strong. I would really want a strong push, but it's subtle. It could be a sign that we are moving higher. Closes above this line also could tell us, if we get that close in 1 day and 10 hours left, could tell us we're going up higher. So you guys want to watch that close today. The evidence longer term suggests that there's no significant selling here. And again, as we demonstrated, a few areas in the volume, primarily at the tops, we did not see a major sell-off at these tops. We did not. Even this little ultra-high random var here is on a down move. So if anything, there's still accumulation that's happening. But at these tops, as I demonstrated, there's no active selling campaign. There was some selling here at the beginning, and then here, not a major selling, but we keep challenging that top. If I had a big volume push, I'd be like, ooh, let's get to the DP at 83,000. Any questions before I move to TOTAL3? I'm not fully convinced. There was a few other things we could have done. Look at RSI, wave pullback. Let me do that real quick. Not a strong big wave just yet, but one incoming. Look at how much candles it took just to make this last wave here. Now, barely any little pullback, and we got a very strong RSI pullback. So it's very possible that we have a pullback, but to qualify what I would like a pullback, I would like to be equal or greater. But proportionally, this is a good sign, at least on the weekly chart. Okay. If I pull it up on maybe the 2-day chart, it appears that we do have a strong pullback, but the waves start being improportional to the USDT.D because I'm getting so many pullbacks. Here would be a good example of a band pullback in a macro sense, a more smaller sense. Here's my move down. RSI is about right here. We move up and then we pull back, but when we pull back, we're all the way deep into RSI. So this small movement was a very strong pullback for RSI and ensues a very large up move. The bigger the pullback, the more energy is coming in on the down wave. I want to see that for this weekly chart. I don't have it yet, but this small movement, what I do have is good sign. So I'm not so convinced this is the breakout just yet, but it's looking like it. Did everybody get that? I'm not so convinced this is the breakout just yet, but it's starting to look like it. I want more evidence. All right, let's look at, do I have any more questions before I look at the TOTAL3? Wow, how did you do that pirate, Lisa? That's pretty cool. All right, let's look at TOTAL3. Don't ever say I didn't do anything nice for you guys, that I don't love you. Hi. I had one more piece of evidence I wanted to show you. I took it last night. I'll try to find it. Okay, TOTAL3 is basically the crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ether. So it ranges a lot of the other coins. And of the other coins, we are in this downtrend, and then these have moved into a higher position. Now we've drawn this map. I was asked to draw this map last time. I showed you where the sword cut was at a few weeks ago. I think it's been about 3 weeks more, maybe more. And this map is pretty good. This is the position we wanted to be in. This is the position we are. Are we respecting sword cut? You bet your grandmother we are. Look at that. Nice. Sitting right on top of sword cut. Okay. Sitting right on top of sword cut is a very good sign. Are we staying underneath this area here? No, we're not. We're not even underneath that area. Is this bullish for TOTAL3? Yes. So what is that indicating that the market's going to do? It's going to indicate that the market's going to rise. So based on this data so far on a map structure, it looks like the market's going to rise. Let's just put that in a little text. Based on the structure, price breaking out and sitting on the sword cut above the watch line is a good sign of health. We will need compared to the USDT.D going Down is another good sign. Look for closes on the weekly chart above those areas from the report, areas for confirmation. Okay, so you guys are wondering, well, is the crypto's going to continue going up? It's starting to paint a picture, isn't it? It's starting to paint a picture. Here's the TOTAL3 as part of the big market report. Structurally, this is going up. Now, if I'm going to look on volume, which I'm going to, what do I want to see? I want to see, is there an active accumulation at the bottom? When we came down, was there an active accumulation? Did we have an increase in volume? Then, as we came up here to this top, was there distribution? Because if there wasn't, or there was very little, and there's no interest on this as we're coming down, which we've been coming down, if there's no interest, I know it's a correction. We're probably going to continue going higher in the future. So I'm looking for signs of health. So let's look at that. First, did we have a major accumulation? No, I did not. I have a strong decrease in volume here on this move down. Okay, so I want to by and far see a strong increase in volume. So that's not a good sign for longer term cryptos moving up. All right. Now, what did I see? I saw this one up here in this area as we come up to these areas, a strong increase closer to the top. This could indicate a selling campaign happening. So some selling happening here. Then as we come to this second wave up here, strong increase as well, and then followed by weakness and a down move. Okay. Now, of this, if I didn't see them really interested in buying this, then this may actually be a sign that the prices in the future are going to be lower, which means that coins and stuff may not be the best. Now, this is something that I've been asked to look at, TOTAL3. I still want to examine the market correlations myself, okay? But primarily, this is something that I observed. I don't believe it's like USDT.D where it's the opposite, but I have to confirm all of that. But for you TOTAL3 traders who are looking at this, right now it appears there was an active selling campaign. So they got out, or they're distributing, they weren't interested in buying, price rise, and as it rose, what did we see? An increase in volume followed by weakness in the chart. Here's the weakness. It's a trend line about right here. There's the sword cut. Price is hitting sword cut twice. As we rose, the volume in the relative area, which is from here to here, was increasing. So if there's an active selling campaign that happened here in the volume zone block or in this zone, we're back in that zone. We're seeing a continuation of the distribution. Okay, so we started distributing here. We're back in this area. We're seeing another example of distribution, which means we have to be careful with some of the altcoins longer term. Now, can we hit higher? It's possible. But am I longer term bullish cryptos right now? No, I'm not. Based on this TOTAL3, I want to be very careful. If I get down into these areas, I may, but more likely we're going to hit a double top. So more likely we're probably going to go up for a short time, but structurally the altcoins alone, they don't have it. I'm going to put that in my report and you will have what I need. Okay, BSA. From a volume perspective, I can see there is an active distribution campaign. This means that smart money or professional money is more interested in getting rid of their holdings. This makes me concerned with altcoins, or the coins in the TOTAL3 for longer term sustained bullishness. If there is a breakout now, which appears to be the case, we may be looking to take profit rather than see long-term prices higher. Or, in other words, we would see lower prices before a longer-term bull run. The next bull run should therefore be temporary. This is also in alignment with what we see in USDT.D and Bitcoin, both showing temporary movements. The major information showing a future crash. We got that all from our report today. So everybody who was in our meeting today, you guys saw in the data that USD.D was pointing towards a longer term move where I believe the weakness is going to be either up here closer to that number at the top, the old high. I don't know what the number is, I'll have to get it for you. Or below here. If this is a breakout right now, I got to be really careful because we could be hitting just sword cut. I want to be really careful longer term. If Bitcoin takes us up, we know that Bitcoin is also telling us through USD.D that the move up on Bitcoin is going to be as there's going to be some kind of profit taking in the future. Now, I didn't show you the longer term Bitcoin move, but we got a top currently at 83,000. So if this Bitcoin happens at 83,000 and then we see profit taking, we'll know what to look. But as it is, USDT.D is very clear about the boundaries and territories. Once we hit 3.5% area, I believe we're going to see a large crash in the market based on the accumulation longer term for Bitcoin. Okay, remember. All right, that concludes all my report for USD.D, Coin, and TOTAL3. Do I have any questions regarding that? Regarding the accumulation campaign on USD.D to bring prices high, which is to crash Bitcoin, the temporary bullish movements on Bitcoin, or the temporary movements based on the campaign that we see in TOTAL3 to a future here. Right now, this is the correction. So this move doesn't tell me it's going to be long-term sustained. It's probably going to be hitting this number. Any other questions? I'll get you those prices. Trillion, or billion, 978, sorry. And support at 5.72. Okay. The Lord said it will struggle in the 80s. This is Triple J. The Lord said it will struggle in the 80s. Okay. All right, praise God. All right, if you guys are watching this clip on YouTube and you want to learn more, or if you're seeing this part, there's our website. This is our website right at the top, jsong_7 at patreon.com/jsong_7. If you guys are hearing this report, don't worry, I'm not always dressed like a pirate. I just have a little eye irritation that is hurting my eye. It's just a treatment. Anyway, this is where you guys can find us. Tomorrow we'll be back at WordRoom, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.